I don't know, little baby bull sharks who are genetically modified versus super piranhas. You can't just be like, yeah, bull sharks, easy. Like, that's not, I mean, if you're talking about LeBron James versus me in basketball, I go LeBron. But these two seem more evenly matched. So I didn't like that. The super piranhas didn't get their due.
Yeah, Misty just says they're worse, much worse. And I wanted, like, how? How are they? Elaborate, please.
I know, I feel like that's when they could have, like, brought it back to the first. Because, like, I don't know, the Gen 2s were worse, right? Like, they're bigger, they're smarter, all these things. And it's the same here, where it's like, these are, you know, she sort of explains it, but they're like, she's much worse. End scene. Leave the wet lab. Like, it's just like nothing. We're just supposed to believe her, which I guess is fine. But yeah, I wanted to know more.
Maybe the little baby sharks should have been going down the corridor, snapping their fingers like the sharks and the chicks from West Side Story. And you're like, man, these are some smart sharks.
I watched an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer from season 6. My wife and I are going through it at the moment. And there is a character in that who is like a mob boss with a shark head. And it's the greatest thing I've ever seen. It's just this human body with like shark fins sticking out the sleeves and then a shark head and a fin sticking at the top of a suit. And it's glorious. So yes, I would like a whole gang of them, but baby version, clicking their fins going down the corridor. That would be wonderful.
Give them some monocles, right? I mean,
that would really show how these drugs are working, you know?
We didn't know what the drugs would do. My word, their DNA, it's all over the place.
Yeah. They made them into musical theater enthusiasts.
They learned to make suits.
Like oh, yeah. They're tailoring. And they're welding later on, too.
This one's wearing Craig's tie.
Oh, my God. But then he barfed it out because it's so ugly. That tie. That is, yeah.
I love that's how they recognize the body.
They're like, I don't know who that is. Oh, I see that hideous tie. It's Craig. Good riddance. You know?
Has a tie ever taken you out of a film before? Because I hate hating on it, but when we first meet the lawyer in that yellow tie, I immediately just went, oof. Yeah. I've never really had that reaction to a tie before. Have you ever had that in a film?
I don't think so. Because the next time we meet Craig, too, he's got, like, all of his collars are popped, and he's still wearing that tie. And you're like, wow, like, you are dying for sure in this.
I would say it's the worst part of the film. Is
Craig's
tie.
Oh.
Craig's tie, for sure.
Yeah.
It's the only flaw in this movie. I'm
not going that far. But it's for me, it's the worst part.
Yeah, no, because it takes you out, and not in a good way. So when I hear Joy Swim, I just go, I love this movie. Oh, yeah. When I hear other quotes in this, I love it. When I see Carl Durant having a Limitless moment, Chuck moment, with all the math flashing in front of his face.
Oh, my God.
Beautiful. But that tie, I'm out of here.
Tie, I'm out of here. The other thing that doesn't take me out, but probably should, it's not in the scene, so forgive me, but my actual, other than the arm scene, my actual favorite moment in this movie is when Carl is doing his, like, big Limitless speech, and then, you know, name drops the title, which we love, but then you just see Bella staring through the window.
Yeah. Best part. It's terrible, but it's so entertaining.
It's so good. Well, it makes me laugh because, like, the best thing about Deep Blue Sea is Rennie Harlan doesn't understand, like, subtlety, you know what I mean? Like, he's like, let's do it, everything is text. And so what I love about this movie is, like, Darren Scott doesn't get that even more and just, like, makes it, like, so much more text, and that Bella's staring through the window is the epitome of that. Like, it is the best.
Yeah, because in the first one, Susan glances at the window, there's nothing there, but we think, oh, maybe
you feel it.
It's something. But here it's like, oh no, there's a giant shark. It's there at the window.
Bella's just straight floating outside the window. She's so smart. Yeah. Which actually, okay, here's my theory. Which, let me know what, okay, so Bella's staring out the window, spying on Carl, can definitely hear because she's super smart. And so she hears how Durant's, like, discussing everything about the sharks. And then when he's done with them, he's got a kill switch and he's going to kill all the sharks. So she hears that and she decides that's not great. And so she's not with it. And so she figures out how to, like, she knows she's going to go into, like, the wet lab or whatever, but she figures out how to both stave off the sedative that they give her and also that if she can do something that will trigger a fast drop into the water, it will trigger her birth, and therefore she will give birth to the baby sharks, which are her legacy. So even if she dies, she will continue on, right?
Beautiful. I'm 100. I'm 150%. This is amazing.
That's perfect.
Yep, you nailed it.
Yep.
That's canon right there.
It's canon. Did it. Lock the episode. We're done. But I feel like that's what happens. You know, it's like the same with like all the other sharks in Deep Blue Sea is, you know, they're herding the people to what they want. And with her, I feel like it's all about the babies. So therefore, when they say, you know, the sharks are in a frenzy and there's something inside the compound they want, I feel like the humans think it's them, but it's actually the babies, right? Like they want to get the babies back.
We think it might be they want to kill Durant. That's
true.
I mean, that comes into play in a really towards the end of the film where.
Yeah, spoiler alert. Yeah, that does come into play. That's right.
They want him gone.
Maybe they have two plans.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I do think it's interesting. The director says this too, that it's like, you know, in the first one, the sharks are in the compound, and this one, it's they can't get in, but the babies are in. It's like, yeah, that's interesting. That's a good twist.
Baby gang. It's beautiful. Wearing monocles and snapping.
Baby
so
gang.
Good.
Yeah.
Now, I'm no expert on sedatives, but did Bella maybe have a huge lunch? Did Bella, exactly. Did Bella have a huge lunch? Just ate a lot?
Well, she ate those fishermen.
Yeah, the fishermen.
Yeah. So you're still digesting. You have all that kind of protein and bones and guts in you. So if you get sedatives on an empty stomach, is it worse than being full?
I don't want to Google how to sedate somebody, but I'm gonna.
Yeah. Also, when they inject her, don't they inject it into like her fin?
Yeah.
And wouldn't that not be a great place to do it? Because that's just like cartilage.
Trent Slater is what'd you say, a beautiful dummy?
He's a beautiful dummy.
Yeah. He did it in the wrong spot.
He did it in the wrong spot. I also don't understand. So, I mean, I imagine it's a plan. The plan already was like to bring the shark up, much like they do in Deep Blue Sea, to like show the lightning in a bottle scene. But in this one, it's like, I don't know, I guess they're just like showing something. It's unclear why they're bringing the shark in for a demonstration, maybe other than to show that they treat it okay. But why do they need a throat culture? Like, they're talking about giving an ultrasound, and then he's like, I'm just going to get a throat culture, and like reaches in with like a back scratcher type thing. And it's all very weird.
Okay, so apparently eating grapefruit, spinach, or kale or other things high in vitamin K can reduce the effectiveness of sedatives. So maybe one of the fishermen had eaten a whole bunch of spinach.
Yeah.
Wow.
Fisherman, very much known for eating a lot of spinach, for sure.
He just loved Popeye. And
he did.
The shark just took, I don't know if this was a plan of some kind, if they could smell the spinach on the boat. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Let's assume.
That's it too. That's canon now.
Done.
And I hate this. This is such a lazy answer to what you asked, because maybe the throat culture is good because of some sort of, I don't know, amoeba or culture or I don't know, yada yada. But it's also just a great way to get a camera inside of a shark's mouth.
Yeah.
But that's lazy though. I wish I could come up with something better. I mean, they obviously needed it, right? They're doing it because they need it.
I mean, sometimes the simplest answers are the right ones. You know what I mean? They need a throat culture because that's for germs, I think. Because that's.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Would it be better or worse if they were removing another license plate?
Oh man, I'm so glad that's the thing, that makes me annoyed when I read other people's reviews where they're like blasting this movie for homaging Deep Blue Sea, which makes sense that it would. But then they'll talk about loving all these other shark movies that just straight up rip off Jaws so hard. And I'm like, okay, you need to check yourself. So I'm glad they did do that.
What if they removed a little plastic bag containing the recorder with Preacher's Legacy on it?
I would love that. Oh my God.
How to make omelets.
No, we
or
know,
it's just
but there's no kitchen in
fully
this place.
pull out Stellan Skarsgård because he's still alive and preserved through his oxygen mask.
His cigarette's still smoking down there.
Yeah.
19 years. Or no, it's 20. Yeah, whatever this came out. They just keep pulling like a clown car, his entire stretcher.
It's Goggins' leg. It's still kicking.
Oh, God. Oh, it's Jan's vagina. We still have it.
She was a healthy girl. Look.
Yeah. Oh.
I'm sorry.
The autopsy table, they're just going through all that, saying exactly what y'all just said. Oh, that's...
Some
I can't
Helsinki
think...
hollandaise, some Finnish pancakes. There's a bird in here.
Yeah, they could have used something, because it actually made me sad when they used just that piece of wood to prop open the shark's mouth, and I'm like, that doesn't seem humane. Like, they could have used, or like medical, like they could have used something a little bit better, but it's like, yeah, maybe they could have used, I don't know, an homage to the other movie, just a license plate or something like that, you know? I do love that when the shark comes to life and is about to bite on, that they always make the shark sound like a dinosaur.
Well, they've been around for a long time. Since there was just flesh and teeth. So yeah, it makes sense.
So going back to what you said about what I don't like in criticism and a lot of people's complaints, this real selectivism. And maybe I don't know if that's the right word, but you look at Jurassic World, it's a remake of Jurassic Park, essentially. You look at Force Awakens, it's essentially a remake. And you get all that; those made billions of dollars, and they're really fresh. Critics loved them, solid audience scores. But then you get a movie that does the same thing in a different way, and people are like, "Oh, that's a ripoff." And it's just a selective, the selectiveness of what is not a ripoff. Even though most movies, I mean, have DNA of the movies before them. It's really hard to be original nowadays and not feature something. I mean, whether it's a comic book adaptation or a remake. Yeah, it's just the selectiveness in complaining about what rips off what. Just because you don't like it, you're like, oh, it's a ripoff. But you love a ripoff, and you don't say it's a ripoff. I know it's a long thing to say, but it does get a little old.
Yeah, if you think of a sequel that took practically nothing from its predecessors, would be like Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. And when that came out, it was panned. Right?
Yes.
So it just went a different direction. It's nothing to do with the first two. So you can't win.
Yeah. I think it's more than just, for me, it's more than just the ripoff too. Like, for me, what I see when people are like, I'm very clear to be like, this movie isn't great, and I don't think any of us are like, yeah, it's better than the first, this is the best shark movie, like, but it has some stuff. This chapter, specifically the arm scene, is that stuff, you know, it's one of the layers of stuff that it has. But I think people are very quick to be like flippant and glib about this because it's super easy to. Like, it's really easy to pan this movie, but I think they're panning stuff that's not actually there, and I think that's where the frustration comes for me. Like, yeah, and the director's very clear about in his interviews where he's like, yeah, we did, you know, take that initial arm scene with Stellan Skarsgård, but we flipped it. And it's like, okay, yeah, and I think sometimes he gets a little too caught up in this idea of how he wants it to be a sequel. Like, instead of maybe deepening the backstory or like trying to do things new, he's really constrained himself, and that's his own directorial choice, and that's fine. But like, the stuff that people rip on, it's not really there, and it's also, they're not giving credit where credit is due. Like, this arm scene and everything around it triggers the entire main part of the movie, which is the babies are in the corridor, which is new. Like, that is a new thing for both the Deep Blue Sea series and like the shark movies in general, I would say. You know, there have been baby sharks, but not this baby before in the way that they are portrayed. And in like the piece that I wrote, I talk a lot about sort of the concept of the sequel, both like what is a direct and what is not a direct sequel. And I think the legacy of Deep Blue Sea being shark experimentation is fine. And also we have to remember that none of the sharks from Deep Blue Sea, the originals, survived. So like, he did have to start with a blank slate, a new cast, all these different things. And I think he did a pretty good job with what he had. Like, I mean, maybe I'm a bit of a homer for him, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
So I just feel like people need to review what's actually there. I think that's, maybe I'm getting a bit ranty now, but I think they're just ignoring stuff that's there that's good, you know?
I'm really with you, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I feel the same way sometimes when people give a movie an unfair shake, and maybe I get a little too defensive over it because, like, let's say it's not like objectively good, even though it's such a tough term. Like,
yeah.
I mean,